Hello, Roftwood. It's me, Zombie GG with the Roftwood Coordination Center, proudly presenting you with another post-apocalyptic production I like to call an RCC Fireside Chat. This episode is part 3 of my discussion with one of Malton's most powerful players, the man who holds the title as my undisputed personal all-time arch-nemesis and RCC public enemy number 1, Lord Moloch, strike leader for the infamous Ridleybank Resistance Front's Gore Corps necro-terrorist unit. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
I would still class that coup. It was the most stressful time as Papa of the RF, probably my most stressful time actually in Urban Dead. What happened was they didn't count on, they had like the passion, they had the beliefs, and they had a lot of support as well. What they didn't count on is that I'm a lot smarter than they are. I'm way better at arguing than they are. I was morally in the right, and also I had more allies than they thought I did. So when I started my counter argument to basically point out, I didn't make these fucking rules, and all of the plans that I put in place were actually to help your teams do better, to help them do better in the competition. What happened was Don Tickles and Distinguished, who I'd made number 2 and number 3 in the Horde when I had actually been promoted, they immediately looked at it and said, that's actually fair. Okay, we're not backing this. So they basically went public and said, look, you Brags, you need to back off. He's clearly not doing anything to fuck the other teams over here. And Bragg, being drunk and kind of a bully, he kept on. Pyro Monkey came to me in direct message and said, look, I now see exactly what you were saying. I'm out. Don't worry about me. And I was like, that's absolutely fine. That's not a big deal. He went back to just running Orcs Unit 10 as one of the strike leaders. I had no grudge against him. But Braggledorf kept trying to argue. And that, in the end, really helped me because it meant that he was a very public figure and I was able to make an example of him. So I broke him, manipulated him into making completely the wrong arguments to try and support himself, and used that to toss him out of the Horde.
Your ethos were influenced by Gulina, and now you're, fighting for those ethos, kind of, and Bramblewood's ethos, or whatever that guy's name was. I don't know what the hell his ethos were, but it sounds like they weren't popular, and it sounds like he just kind of committed political suicide.
Oh, his position was actually very popular. It was a really close run thing. I could have very easily been forced out of the Horde, even though I was in the right in that situation, because he did have a lot of support, and there were a lot of people who agreed with his ideology. The problem that came through is that he's not as smart as I am. He's not as good at arguing as I am. I was morally in the right, and that was enough to make other influential leaders, especially my number 2 and my number 3, who ran 2 separate strike teams, including Braggledorf's old one, to just stand there and say, this is complete bullshit.
You just had that success at the mall at Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah, we've literally just bulldozed one of the most populous mall in the game, and this guy's trying to start a fight.
Who was your number 2 and number 3?
Distinguished was my number 2. Basically, when I took over as Papa, I was aware that I was controversial. And I also liked Distinguished and Don Tickles. Don Tickles didn't like me so much, but I thought, this is a solid guy. It doesn't matter that he doesn't like me. He can take control of some stuff for me. And Distinguished was someone who I liked a lot, and he clearly trusted me to run things. But also, they were heads of 2 separate strike teams. And I introduced a rule at the time which said that the Papa of the RRF, basically the top 3 roles in the team, can only be occupied by members of different teams, so that no team could ever be completely overrepresented, which is what had happened under Murray. AU-10 were completely overrepresented, so they had too much power. And I didn't want the same thing to happen with the Gore Corps becoming too powerful, so I made myself Papa. I put the head of GMT Breakfast Club as 2nd and the head of AU-10 as 3rd, so that we would have a fair distribution amongst the most powerful teams in the Horde. And those guys stepped up and said, this coup's a crock of shit, basically, and we're not going to support it. And that enabled me to then... Braggledorf kept arguing, even though it was clear he was losing, so I just kept putting up the positions, just like, well, what exactly do you want me to do, Braggledorf? And he kept saying what he wanted, and that's not possible, and just kept letting him repeat it until eventually he made the mistake of threatening someone, and I used that as a reason to chuck him out. Straight away, done, and that meant that no one could argue with it. I got rid of another couple as well, just because they were too close to him, but I'd won it so decisively that the rest of the horde was just like, yeah, that's fair enough, let's just get on with this. We just want to eat brains, that's all we want to do. And we just got on with it. And then what happened was I got very, very lucky a couple of weeks later when we had a bunch of new young players come through, really great, friendly, passionate new leaders who came through and helped to sort of consolidate this new order and bring the fun back in, because I'm a good leader, but I'm not the most fun person. I'm the sort of person who will totally send someone to the other end of the map to go and scout a mall for me, and I'll want screenshots of every block. But they were guys who would come in and make everyone smile, and that's how it was. That balance with me at the top and people like Zoe Zarg and Gus Thomas and Distinguished below me. That balance enabled enabled the horde as a whole to succeed, rather than it just being me. They made my changes stick just because of their personalities. That little contrast between them and me.
It's really cool, dude. I call that the cultural aspect. Like, the way I play Urban Dead, there's the military aspect, because I relate to you. I'm very into the tactical side of this game. But hanging out with the MMS, which is really a big anchor for me in Roftwood, they play a lot more on the cultural side with the in-game role-playing, and then, like, I don't know, they just take this game so much more lightly, and they just treat each other so much more, like, lightly, like performing songs for giant hordes that siege up outside St. Ethelbert's or whatever. I don't know, just weird shit. And it makes me laugh and smile because it's so different than the primary way I'm wired to play. But it's super important for this game. That's something I'm learning. And it sounds like that's so cool that you're self-aware of the fact that you are a lot more stacked on the military side of the game, and you recognize how important the culture is for, like, keeping the groups glued together and people having fun as well as being successful, like with military objectives and stuff.
Yeah. Like I say, I got very lucky because one good recruitment thing that I did was I mentioned earlier that Cyanide got me into Urban Dead. I brought her into the RRF and put her in charge of the new Horde group that was originally founded under Braggledorf. When we got rid of him, I put Cyanide in charge of that, called the Wrecking Ball. And under her, because she's quite a sort of nurturing, friendly figure who's like really big on helping new players, she brought through two players called Gus Thomas and Zoe Zarg, who were just completely fun, especially Zoe, just a very childlike personality. She'd do like crayon drawings and upload them, and she'd do like crayon forum signatures for people.
The culture stuff, man, the personal touch, it's so cool.
Yeah, and they wound up forming what was the second biggest strike team after the Gore Corps at that time, called Team America.
Nice.
And they were fantastic, and they were a huge amount of fun. And because they struck at a very similar time to the Gore Corps, what happened was Team America, all these new kids who were coming through under Zoe and Gus, they saw a lot of me because I'd be online. I'd be online striking with the Gore Corps at the same time as they were striking, so we'd hit together a lot. And so they were used to me, and they knew that actually, while I come across as like a scary, nasty piece of shit on the forums, I'll sit there and make childish jokes and upload memes with them on IRC. So they could sort of
and stuff.
Yeah, they could see past like the my public image, and they could see like how I actually am personally when I'm like shit posting and chatting shit on IRC. So they got along with me better, and what happened was all the bad feeling about me kind of vanished because there were now more people who knew me as Papa than there were people who knew like the old ways of the RRF. And we just sort of like, it was like a cultural revolution. We just completely changed the culture of the RRF in the space of about a month and a half.
So now we're talking about early 2008, right? Because this coup happened early 2008, and then like the Bramble guy gets out. He just kind of committed political suicide. Now you got what, the GMT Breakfast Club, like pretty much with you, and then you have what was that third team you said that was pretty tight with you?
Orcs Unit 10. They weren't really tight with me. I got along. It's Don
You
Tickles
respected the leader, but he was. Like...
Yeah, we respected each other, but Orcs Unit 10 did not like me because that was Braggledorf's team.
Oh.
Yeah,
so you
that
put
was
Don
his.
Tickles in charge of the team after the leader got ousted.
No. Don Tickles was already in charge of that. Braggledorf had started out in AU 10. There was a very sort of tight unit around AU 10. And a lot of them got promoted to the War Council just because they were in AU 10. My comment a lot of time when
they
was...
They were overrepresented, you said?
Very overrepresented. When I was chatting with Gulina about it, before I was made Papa, back when I was second in command, I was like, Jesus Christ, what is it, like a 10-10 strikes with AU 10 get a War Council place? He'll just fucking let anyone in. Like, complete people who had no leadership skills whatsoever and who had done nothing.
It was just like a good old boys club instead of an actual, like, organized...
Basically, yeah. And that might sound like I don't like Murray. I actually really do like Murray. We're just very contrasting personalities. But AU10 didn't like me because a lot of them were very friendly with Braggledorf, including one very sort of close real-life friend of his who became their strike leader for a while. And she tried repeatedly to try and get him reintroduced into the RRF and found out that I don't fucking compromise. So she wound up backing off because it was a kind of, if you keep pushing this out, you'll be out of the horde with him kind of situation. Because by that stage, AU10 was down to like about 6 people, so it's like, you can take the fucking strike team if you like, I don't care.
Yeah, they were just really not that significant anymore.
Absolutely, but then what happened, handily that didn't happen, because then another leader came through, who is actually one of my deputies today, Cthulhu in Lingerie, and she became the leader of AU10, and she's one of my most reliable people and always has been. And one of the little side stories to that, one time, I was feeling in a particularly good mood when they tried to let Braggledorf in, and I was like, look, if he doesn't try to lead anything, he can come back in and just strike with Orcs Unit 10. He's never going to get back into the War Council. He's never going to have control of anything, but if he just wants to strike with you guys, okay, I'll let it go. He came in and tried to take over the team from Nelly. Cthulhu, we call her Nelly. That's her sort of in-horde name. And that turned into a fucking big argument in which I punted his ass back out again.
What was his thing? Was he just doing the same shit again, like dead horse stuff?
He's a bully. Braggledorf is a bully.
So he just wanted to test your alpha, not even that. It sounds like it was just a stupid personal thing.
I think in part it was personal there, but basically his attitude, he's quite stupid, so he fucked himself again. He came through, and when I started to say, you can't fucking lead, Nelly's in charge, you are not getting control of this strike team, I will block you from every fucking service to keep you away from this strike team if I have to. And I messaged Nelly personally saying, as far as I'm concerned, you are the AU-10 strike team leader and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. What happened was he then said, his exact words were, so Moloch's willing to have me come back. He posted a big sort of outraged I'm leaving thread in Baja.com and said...
Dude, this guy's such a drama boy. He's like, first time he does the public thing, I get it, that's a cool political move, but now it just sounds like he's being a drama boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the first coup, obviously there was a lot of public stuff in which people were supporting him. The contrast shows up here, because this was like about 6 months later. When he posted that, his attitude, what he basically said was, I'm not willing to be in this horde as just a peon. Basically, he's saying, I'm too good for this, I expect to be a leader, which complete sort of political suicide. Pure. And basically, one of the new members of Team America, who obviously I was very close with that team, just popped in and said, yeah, bye. And that was literally it right before I locked the thread. That was the attitude of everyone in Team America who had become basically the second biggest team in the horde.
And this is the new era. Like Team America is like your new era that just spawned under like your new ideology and stuff.
Exactly.
Cool.
They were the new kids, and
they're
just
riding
like,
your culture 100%, and this kid's bringing back like an old dead culture, and the new culture is just like, dude, go home, go to bed, grandpa.
Yeah, basically it was like someone going into a club and trying to play a Beatles song. It was like, we ain't fucking listening to this shit, get out. And yeah, he never came back again. I think they tried to get him reintroduced twice more, and this time I was just like, I've got no patience for this shit. Shut the fuck up or get out yourself. And that kind of went away. And while this was all going on, what happened was my vision for the horde had worked. because between the Gore Corps being as good as they were, Orcs Unit 10 was improving because they were getting more people because Nelly was just a fun leader to have around. The GMT Breakfast Club were always reliable. And Team America were fantastic, and we had more sort of casual players coming in and joining the Wrecking Ball. We went on a massive undefeated streak. We didn't lose a battle the entire time I was Papa, but it was reaching the stage at which people wouldn't even stay to fight us anymore. They would run, no matter how.
Oh, so Survivor, you like witnessed when Survivor started implementing river tactics? Because I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure the RRF, to my understanding, are the guys who introduced transmortal tactics. Like, I remember I created my first character in 2006, and I remember, like, zombies were super purist, and then I remember when that ideology started, like, revolutionizing some of the zombie groups, and then I remember when Survivor groups started adopting river tactics, because, like, events like the Big Bash and groups like the RRF, it was just, you could not defend them anymore.
We weren't really the reason why river tactics happened. That predates me, because that really came about with stuff like the first Mall Tour, the Big Bash, which Sonny ran. That all predates me by quite a bit. What happened, though, was what we were seeing as the RRF wasn't so much river tactics, because river tactics, as I always perceive it, is that it's like you go to the adjacent suburb and then you sally back in and retake the territory behind the zombies. What was happening was people were just running away from us. That was it. They weren't. It wasn't a case of like complete evacuation, but guys like the DEM and organised groups like that would leave the suburb and try to recover it afterwards because they knew everyone was going to die. But less organised people would stay there, and we would just go through them like a chainsaw.
So you guys really became that level of a threat where people's books changed to just like, no, we're not fighting anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. Especially because of, and this will bring us back to the barricade blocking thing. What happened was at the beginning of 2007, 2008, beginning of 2008,
yeah,
right after
Papa
the coup.
And stuff.
Yeah, just after the coup, a couple of weeks after the coup, it was clear that the barricading rates were completely fucked. Like, there was no limitation on barricades. It was pretty much a 100% success rate on every stage of barricade. And there was and the hit rate on barricades was disgusting. Like, it was at
like
times.
It was so hard to collapse one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we were estimating that it was between, on an average day, 2.5 to 5% success rate.
Whoa!
With absolutely no real success rate. But I mean, we were still winning, but it was only because we were so huge. But all of the other zombie groups around were complaining, like, we're getting fucked. Like, we can't break into places. It only takes one active barricader to come online, and they can stop a strike team of 15 people. So there was a big discussion on Kevan's talk page, and I just went into one. I basically went on and basically saying, I don't think he gives a fuck, but this is what you should actually do with this game if you want it to work. And I suggested several things, but the biggest one was barricade blocking, basically saying there's no sense to just... There's a load of zombies in your building. What, you can just walk past them and put a fucking chair in front of the door? No. The more zombies there are in there, the harder it should be to barricade.
Yeah, and that makes total sense to me.
Absolutely. And what happened was literally like 36 hours later it was implemented. And the reason why I'd mentioned it, actually, it was the second Big Bash. So the RRF was doing fine, but Don Tickles with his ult was running the second Big Bash. And they were getting screwed at getting
Whoa,
more.
Holy shit, really? Like, a guy who is a squad leader for you is running, like, that huge event?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, Don Tickles ran the second Big Bash.
What a fucking set of skills that guy has. Because those Big Bashes are, like, I consider those the most legendary events. People say the Kiger Mall Siege, but I think that's kind of overplayed. The Big Bashes, to me, because there's 4 of them, you know?
Yeah. I mean... I can tell you why Kiger Mall is completely overplayed later on when we get into the history stuff, but yeah, I'd agree with that. But what was happening was they were hitting with strike teams of 20 people and not even getting through the barricades, and that's when the big arguments started up. And I then went into it basically not in defense of ourselves, because obviously we had a situation where the Gore Corps would go in ahead of a strike, take out anyone who was active, and then the barricaders would hit. The zombies would hit the barricades. So it wasn't affecting us, but I'm looking at what's happening to the Big Bash and say, this is completely unfair. They've got like 400 people here and they can't get into a mall. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, statistically, that's just like
it's something has to be broken for that to happen if they can't get in at all. And then what happened was Kevan introduced it. At first, he introduced it way too strong. It was literally like one zombie in the building made it almost impossible for you to barricade. So they completely crushed Giddings Mall in 3 hours. And then he tempered it and sort of he started playing with the numbers, and eventually he found the right balance.
Yeah, I think it's balanced. I don't know the exact balance, but it's totally like, I feel like if there's more than 3, it's pretty much not worth putting an action point to barricading.
Yeah, at
but
that
like
stage,
3 or less, it seems like you can still do something.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little while ago, I was running a survivor just to sort of test it out, and it does seem about right now, I'd say. It changes from time to time because RNG works a little bit funny sometimes. But what that meant is that it contributed to the RF going on this massive undefeated run that lasted the whole length of my partnership, except for there was one really big siege at Nichols Mall that took us about 6 weeks to end.
Oh, was this when the Kilt store was still like big? Or...
Yeah. It was eventually known as the Battle of Barhopolis.
What? I've never heard of this one.
What happened was initially we went through and we steamrolled absolutely everything. We took the entire place out because we've been on tour for a while, and what happened was I decided the Department of Homeland Security, which was the old security force for Ridleybank, because we had by this stage pretty much ended the survivor security zone as a concept because we just ruined everything. We'd ruined everything and kept it ruined for months. They were shitless. So I was like, guys, you can come out on tour with us. Don't worry about it. If Ridleybank gets retaken, we'll come and smash it later. And obviously with the whole SSC down and all the malls around like Ackland Mall and Stickling Mall, at various stages we'd hit them. So they would always be in a state of rebuilding. And then we just go through and do like a big sort of Z straight through like Stanbury Village, Pimbank, Roftwood, and Tollyton.
Which would take... Scourge does that too. You guys just design like feeding paths. You just like, we're gonna eat here, and then it's just running around cycling through like what's fresh. You allow things to regrow just in time to farm on them when they're at their peak. It's fucking savage, brother. Savage.
Except in that instance, it actually wasn't even that much that we were letting them get up again. We weren't even farming them at that stage.
You're just pinning them down?
Just destroying it.
Fucking salting it?
Yeah, we were keeping the survivor security zone destroyed permanently at that stage. And that meant that the Department of Homeland Security had nothing to do for like 6 weeks. So we were like, screw it, you guys come out on tour with us. We're going to do Excursion 4. I'd already done Excursion 3 by that stage. We did Excursion.
These. I feel like a noob. I remember the badges vividly.
I'll send you the posters so you can like use them in if you want to add them to the video.
You're doing the Excursion 4.
So Excursion 3 was at the beginning of 2008, which was the it was my response to the coup. So once I'd finished off the coup, I was like, fuck it, I need some sort of big public thing that puts my face out there.
Military victory to conceal your alpha.
Exactly, yeah. To give the horde
not
some
conceal
more
your alpha, fucking flex it or whatever.
To basically just show the horde, we're still the RRF, we're still going to have fun. It's going to be like Ackland Mall, but every week, basically.
What was so big about Ackland?
Ackland Mall had quite a few big battles at it. I think the Battle of the Bear Pit was there, which was where that was one of Channel 4 News Team's big events.
I don't want to go off on a tangent right now, but interesting. Ackland Mall was a big thing back in the day.
It was a big thing, and we basically wiped the floor with it. Not only did we wipe the floor with them militarily, but we actually caught the main protecting group of that area, the Crimson Clan. We caught them mass zerging.
The Crimson Clan?
Yeah, Crimson Clan used zerging as a matter of like
that's matter of lame.
Like, as a matter of group policy, and we were able to basically get the entire Crimson Clan zerg listed as a part of it. So it was a big event.
Policy endorsed zerging?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and we caught them. Some people within their group that didn't approve of it sent us some DMs. We were already investigated them because we'd spotted suspicious patterns, but some of the people inside sent us some screenshots from their forum that proved that the leader was actively zerging with 3 characters, and so were all of his deputies. And we put together a comprehensive case, which was the first time I went to Resensitized, and they basically zerg listed the entire team, like irrespective of what evidence there was against each member. Their attitude was, the zerging in this group is so bad, we can't trust anyone that takes on this tag.
So they
it
lost all
decimated
their prestige, no honor.
and people left. And yeah, the team was pretty much abandoned. You'll still maybe see like one or two people with that tag around, but no, they became a memory after that for the most part.
There you have it, Roftwood, part 3 of my discussion with my personal all-time arch-nemesis and RCC public enemy number 1, Lord Moloch, strike leader for the infamous Ridleybank Resistance Front's Gore Corps necro-terrorist unit. Be sure to catch part 4 coming soon. This RCC Fireside Chat is a post-apocalyptic production proudly presented to you by the Roftwood Coordination Center. I'm Zombie GG and Roftwood. The pleasure's been mine.